Speed, size, and strength measurables can make a prospect rise or fall in the NFL draft, but the reality is that very often, those measurables don't translate to on-field success. Here's how GMs get tricked by size, speed, and strength every single year. NFL front offices love speed because it's believed to be one of the two attributes that can't be taught. The Combine's 40-yard dash might be the one event that has led more front offices astray than any particular interview or test combined. John Ross's 40-yard dash made him the 9th overall pick in 2017. Yes, he was a solid prospect coming out of Washington, but he also had a long injury history, including major injuries to both of his knees, ranging from meniscus tears to ACL tears. In addition to this, he also had a significant shoulder injury. And for a guy with a slender frame, this really should have mattered. Pro scouts had questions about his play strength, his overall route running with the entirety of the route tree, and ability to win releases against physical corners. But when he ran a 4.22 and broke Chris Johnson's 40-yard dash record, the Bengals couldn't hold back. And of course, these injuries followed him throughout his NFL career. And as of 2024, he has a career stat line of 62 catches and just under 1,000 yards. The crazy thing is that nobody seems to learn from the sins of past GMs. In 2008, it was Darius Hayward-Bay. Coming out of Maryland in his final year, he had 600 yards and 5 touchdowns. However, he was a track star, and this speed was too attractive to pass up, and he was drafted 7th overall. His career amounted to 202 catches and less than 3,000 yards. What people fail to realize is that the 40-yard dash is an event on its own, and it does not translate to game speed or playmaking ability. Draft prospects spend tens of thousands of dollars after they wrap up their final year in college to go to camps to learn their stance, their start, their stride. It's broken down to a complete science so they can maximize their performance, peak at the right time at the scouting combine, and raise their draft stock. It's especially important because if you run a great 40, you could go from rounds 3, 4, or 5 into the first or second, and that is a much different payday. Most of the people won't be around in the NFL after 2 to 3 seasons, so why not dump all of your chips into running very fast one day in February at the scouting combine so you can get a good first contract and set yourself up for life. Like I said, GMs, front offices, and even fans love speed. It clouds their judgment. If you don't believe me, throw on John Ross's college tape versus Jarvis Landry's. In their final years at school, the stats are pretty similar, but Jarvis was playing against SEC competition. However, Jarvis Landry was drafted at the end of round 2. And why did that happen? They're similar size, similar production in terms of numbers. However, Jarvis's tape is way better. There's way more talent popping off the screen outside of just athletic ability. He's a better route runner. He's more physical with the ball in his hands. The main difference why Ross went top 10 and Landry went end of round 2, Jarvis ran a 4.77. Does he really run a 4.77 though on game day? Hell no. A 4.77 doesn't outrun a secondary full of guys who run 4.4 and 4.3. But it doesn't matter because football isn't played on a track. If you put Usain Bolt or any other top track guy in the world on the field, they would not be the fastest people out there unless they were running in a straight line undeterred. For all my Browns fans, look at Anthony Schwartz. Guy's one of the fastest people in the world, but could never get out of first gear. And this analysis of testing speed versus game speed isn't just limited to guys with good careers like Jarvis Landry. It's also been seen in great receivers like Anquon Boldin and the GOAT, Jerry Rice. We don't need to spend time talking about how good Jerry Rice was. You know it. He owns every major receiving record in NFL history. And he was a yak machine. If he got a step on you, he was gone to the house. But leading up to him getting drafted, he ran a 4.7. But does he actually run a 4.7? Hell no. That's just how he tested on that particular day when he was timed. Where Jerry Rice actually thrived was in his fundamentals, in being a precise route runner and having outstanding stamina to stay fresh late in a game when a defense was tired. In Anquon Boldin's case, he ran 4.71. but it didn't matter. He could have ran a 5.3 and he still would have found a way to get open and win contested catches. A guy like Anquon, who's considered clunky and slow, was still productive late into his career with Baltimore and San Francisco. And in all seriousness, he probably would have been one of the slowest skill players on the roster. But that's not what the job is. It is not a track meet. The point that I'm trying to make is that every single year there are countless players who run 4.4 and 4.3. Being fast is just a prerequisite in the NFL. But how many of those guys who run 4.4 or 4.3 will have even close to as good of a career as just a guy like Jarvis Landry? The answer is not many. And if they do, it won't be because they're fast. It'll be because they're relentless, because they're always refining their craft, because they catch the ball when it's thrown to them and they make the first man miss. That is the name of the game. I really wonder if GMs have learned from John Ross, or if we're going to see Xavier Worthy get drafted in the first round this year. Worthy is the new fastest man alive in terms of the NFL, but he has a lot of the same issues as John Ross. Not super physical, more slender frame, can't really get off the press, and only really has a fastball. As of now, he's projected to go in the third round by most of the draft experts, and that seems about right. But who knows what will happen come draft day? That one GM or front office who says, we need a guy with speed because you can't teach speed. When it comes down to it, the 40-yard dash is just a test. It has nothing to do with timing, rhythm, mental strength, evading tacklers, high pointing the ball, or making a championship winning clutch play. The only place you can find those things are in a player's tape and in their hearts. The NFL's greatest players are rarely the #1 overall pick, and that's the beautiful thing about this sport. You don't have to be the fastest, biggest, or strongest. You don't have to be the best test taker. You don't have to go to the biggest school. You don't have to go D1. You don't even have to be drafted. Greatness cannot be measured on the bench press or in a stopwatch in the game of football, but the belief that it can is what winds up creating the underdog stories that we love. I'm excited for who that person is going to be in this year's draft. I hope you are too, and I thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing and buying a sticker to officially join the Optimistic Fan Club. Got some new stuff available and much more coming down the line, including a new studio. So thank you so much, and we will see you in the next one.